Welcome everybody from YouTube. It is Fahrenheit Motorsports here. So today, I'm gonna be walking you guys through a little bit of a project that I've taken on. Basically what I'm doing is I am making carbon fiber parts. Because as you guys know, there isn't shit out there for our car. This is plural, for our cars. First thing that I decided to take on that you guys probably saw if you follow me on Instagram was to make a carbon fiber eyebrow. So basically it is the piece, some people call it the grill. It's the piece that goes right above the headlights that outlines and goes around the Honda emblem and also goes, like I said, right above the headlights. So that is almost done. I actually just put the last layer of epoxy on that. I went through and sanded it yesterday just so that everything was nice and flat and even. And then I added the layer of epoxy on today. So once it dries, then I'm gonna go through, make some final cuts of anything that's overhanging, and then it's ready to mount. Today though, I've actually received my Casca, I believe that's how you pronounce it, AKA front bumper, front lip. It's got the two side halves that go on the outer corners of the bumper, and then it's got the black lip. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna skin the lip in carbon fiber. So today I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through that process of what I can do in order to get carbon fiber on this part. Now you're probably not gonna see all of it, you're probably gonna see it in a couple of videos because it does take some time for this epoxy to cure, but I'm gonna get you through the beginning stages of it and then walk you through, of course, the epoxy coating later on until it's dry, I get to the final part, and then I can actually install it. So here is just one of the sides right now. I'm gonna leave these in their plastic, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what I have set up right now. So I'm gonna show you guys what I've been working on prior to doing the skinning. It is going to be what I call the eyebrows. Keep in mind, they're almost done. I just need to let the epoxy dry, and then I need to cut off like the pieces of epoxy like this that are hanging over. So once that's dry tomorrow, then I'll be able to go ahead and install it. This is what it looks like. So this is real carbon fiber with wet epoxy on it, not eBay cheap. And as you can see, it's got the centerpiece right here. That's where the Honda logo or emblem will sit. And then these two pieces right here that are right above the headlights. So just a sneak peek at that. There's gonna be some videos on this once I clean it up, get it sanded, polished, and installed. So just be on the lookout for that. Now in the meantime, I have set up a table over here so I can show you guys what the skinning process looks like. Basically, here's my lip. Pretty self-explanatory. Underneath it, I have a roll of carbon fiber. And I've already set down a line with painter's tape. And what I'm gonna do is I'm basically just gonna cut this line. And it allows me to cut the carbon fiber so that it doesn't fray. As you can see right here, when they cut it, there's actually a white string right here that allows you to basically keep the carbon fiber from unweaving. That's all carbon fiber is. It's just a mesh that's weaved together, just like your standard textiles. So I bought quite a bit of it in a large roll. And in order for me to make sure that the roll and this piece right here don't fray, as you can see on this end, I've already used these pieces over here on the part that you just saw. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this piece out, and then I have some 3M spray, it's like tack spray that I'm gonna spray on the top of this, and then I'm gonna very carefully lay the carbon fiber over the top. Now once that's set, once it's ready to go, then I can actually apply epoxy. But for now, I'm gonna get through the process of putting this piece on there. Now this lip does come obviously in 3 pieces. You have the center section, and then you have your 2 side lips. Now I thought, wouldn't it be easier just to do 3 pieces? Yes, it would. But the thing about this lip is that the way that it buckles in, or the way that it connects with these two pieces, there's actually some latches or some grooves that allow these pieces to interlock. And if I was to basically skin these parts separately, it's gonna make it very difficult for me to latch those together. So my only other option at this point is to lay the entire piece of carbon fiber down over top of the lip. It is a little bit wasteful because I'm probably wasting more material, but at the end of the day, it's gonna look seamless. One of the things that you have to think about too is if you decide to skin 3 separate pieces, the likelihood of getting this pattern here to orientate the same exact way, it's gonna be very difficult. And I don't have enough fabric to make sure that I get it that way. So rather than do 3 separate pieces that could have 3 different directions of the weave, I'm just gonna do it all at once. It is gonna be a little bit difficult because unlike, we'll just say vinyl wrap, if any of you guys have used vinyl wrap, you can even see right here that as you start to pull and push the weave, it actually starts to go out of place. So you have to be very, very careful with how you apply this. So once it starts to get tacky, once I spray that 3M, in order to lay carbon fiber down, you have to actually push the weave together. So unlike a vinyl that you can stretch over, when I lay this down, I have to be pushing together the carbon fiber. All right guys, the next part of the process obviously is to cut this. So just like I told you before, the reason why I put down the tape is so when I actually cut down the center of it, the carbon fiber doesn't break. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this piece out. We're gonna get rid of the larger roll. And then we're gonna go through the process of actually skinning the carbon fiber lip. So that's it. As you can see, because we put the tape on there now, it doesn't fray, it doesn't fall apart. Obviously, carbon fiber is pretty expensive. I found that out the hard way. These rolls, they're fairly expensive, so if you guys do decide to do this on your own, just make sure that you're taking care of it. I mean, if you're gonna, get the cheaper, smaller amount, you don't really want to waste any of it. So that's the proper way to do it, as far as I've seen online. So again, I'm gonna bring the lip back up here. We're gonna put this piece of carbon fiber off, and I'm gonna show you guys the glue that I have in order to get this skinned correctly. Okay, so I have my carbon fiber. Now, basically what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna be working from the middle. I'll lay it down, like so. And then from there, all I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be working the corners. So as long as it is tacking down and adhering to the part, that's really all I care about. Now, of course, the hard part, as you can see here, is going to be working around those ramp sections. It's not vinyl, I can't stretch it. Although the carbon fiber is somewhat flexible, it's going to be kind of difficult to get it around these larger ramped areas, which you can see right here. So one of the benefits to doing this in multiple pieces is that I have less room for error here, whereas when I start to work with this larger piece, as I'm trying to maintain this shape here, I can already see that it's going to be fairly difficult to do that. As you can see, the carbon fiber is already starting to bunch up here, and I'm going to need to figure out a way to adjust that. So let me think about that for a second, and then we'll get. All right, guys, so the next part of the process, in order to get the carbon fiber to stick to the part, you can do one of two things. You can lay down a very thin layer of epoxy and wait for it to become tacky and then apply your carbon fiber. By doing that, it allows it to stick very well. There's no gaps, anything like that would be caused by using the epoxy. And then from there, you do what's called a wet out. You take more of the epoxy and then you basically wet the carbon fiber so it all soaks up the epoxy. You'll let that cure anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, and you can go over it again with another coat of epoxy, or you can let it cure for 24 hours and start the process over again. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this 3M Super 77 spray adhesive. Now, this spray adhesive, you'll find that a lot of guys do actually use this. It does have very fast acting tacky speed. And then as far as the strength goes, once it becomes very tacky, it is a little bit difficult to pull the carbon fiber up. You can still do it, but by doing so, it's gonna actually start to misalign or mess up those fibers. But it gives you a little bit of time. So once I spray it, I have probably about 5 to 10 minutes to start working with the carbon fiber and lay it down where I need to, just to get it where I need it to be. All right, so as you can see, my final decision was to take them apart. So as much as it's gonna kill me to have the potential of different weave patterns, it is going to be much more difficult to try to lay down one piece of carbon fiber over these ridges here. What I'm going to end up doing is I would rather lay down the carbon fiber, and then when I get to the end where the ridge is at, work on this a little bit more. Most of what you guys are going to be seeing is going to be from here forward. So all of this is covered by the sides, the painted parts. This part you guys are going to be able to see. So if I can concentrate on making from here forward look really presentable, and then back here if I need to do a patch job or two, or fold some edges, it won't look as bad since that's actually covered by the actual accord bumper. But the goal is to make it look as seamless as possible. So the way that I can achieve that is by working on smaller areas at a time, piece by piece, until I have accomplished the goal. This one is probably going to be the hardest, so I'll probably lay down carbon fiber going this way. And then once I get to the center section, I'll probably have a piece of carbon fiber that I cut out in this shape, just laid over top, glued down, and then I can epoxy the rest of it. So that's my thought. I'm sticking to it. Is getting this piece sprayed with the Super 77. So I'm going to give it a quick shake, and then I'm going to go ahead and get it sprayed. So it is fairly easy to spray the Super 77. You just need a light coat. That's it. So that's the piece that we are going to skin first. So I'm going to go ahead and take this inside, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'm going to go through the process of skinning the carbon fiber onto this part. Alright, so the next part of this, it's not really rocket science. You just lay the carbon fiber down over your piece that you sprayed, and then go from there. So we're going to get it down, we're just going to lay it on top very gently, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and give it a hard press. guys can see here, I'm leaving a little bit of an edge. I'll probably go back a second time and clean that up just to get it as close to the folding edge as possible. But as you can see, this is just leaving me a little bit of an edge to work with. Age-old rule. Measure twice, cut once. Obviously I'm not measuring here, but you get the idea, right? So if I cut too close, I can't have the material back. And you can see how the fiber is already starting to fray and look kind of terrible. So that's the downside to working with this, is it's not very forgiving. Once you make a mistake, once you fold the fabric a certain way, or you get it caught on something, it starts to tear or fray. That's it. You're done. So, you know, the $100 that you invested in this roll, as you can see, I have leftover pieces, but unless I can use these small sections here, this entire piece is done. So you've got to be very careful and very cautious when working with this. Otherwise, you are going to waste a bit of money here. So here is our final piece here. As you can see, it's pretty much taken shape all the way around. What I'm going to end up doing, like I told you before, is I'm going to spray the back side of this, and then we're going to wrap the carbon fiber over it to get it to stick to this edge right here. What I have to do is figure out how to get this to stick, because as you can see, only part of it can stick. This area right here is a gap that I can't push into, so I'm going to have to do some relief cuts right here so that I can get that toe top. And then I still have this little area back here that I've got to figure out what I want to do with. So not difficult. If you're patient and you work with this material, you can get it to work. I mean, it's not rocket science. You just have to be very patient. If you're not a patient person, pay somebody to do it. Because by the time you've invested the money into the carbon fiber, into the epoxy, into the parts, if you do it more than once, it can be expensive. So be careful with it. So I sprayed the inside edge of the part, again with the Super 77. Now I'm going to just fold it over. I made 2 relief cuts right here, so on that edge that I was worried about getting to stick down, once I made those relief cuts, the fiber is able to kind of conform to the part. And I'm going to show you here in a second. The only thing I got to figure out is this little area right here. Now what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to make a cut right here so that this can straighten out, and then make a cut right here so that this edge, once it flaps over, it just looks like a continuous seam there. At least to the best of my abilities. So what will end up happening is, now some of these edges that you can see that has a little bit sticking up, when I put the epoxy on that, these pieces are gonna do one of two things. They're either going to lay down, so if I wet that with epoxy, I can get them to kind of conform that way, or when I wet them with epoxy, they're gonna stick in that exact same position, and then it's gonna be up to me to sand and sculpt that, cut it off. Very easy to do. Again, this is the back of the part, so you don't really have to worry much about it. This part is going to be what's exposed. This is going to be what's seen to anybody that looks at the vehicle. So rather than have edges like that stick up, I want these to lay down so that when the general public sees it, it looks like it's a clean section, then I can get this to very easily mate up with the other side. So one thing to note with this, be very careful with the fibers. If you've ever dealt with fiberglass before, this is going to be of the same, we'll say, category or family of irritant. So all these little fibers that are coming out, if you're not wearing gloves or protection, it can become very itchy. With these ones, like I told you before, I'm probably going to hit these with epoxy today because I don't want these very, very short edges to start to lift up overnight. And then we have to work on this section going forward because that's going to be a pain in the ass. So that's our part. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get through the process of getting the other two pieces skinned. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will come back and show you guys the three parts that look just like this. Now what I'm gonna end up doing is, once they are like that, I'm going to assemble them. And once they're assembled, then I'm gonna throw the epoxy on them. So that's pretty much it. I'll come back to you guys as soon as I'm done. Don't go anywhere. All right, guys, so this is it. This is the product before the wet out, before the epoxy. As you can see, it's fully skinned that part. Next part of the process is, of course, like I just said, get the epoxy down on it. Probably do at least a couple of coats, sand it down so everything is nice and flush, and then hit it with one final coat of epoxy. At which point I'll go ahead and get this mounted to the vehicle, and you guys can see what it looks like with the rest of the Akaska kit, if that's how you pronounce it. So if you guys have any questions on this process, I know I probably, went a little too fast for some of you guys because I had some experience with the previous project that I started. It was a little bit easier to do this one. But basically, you have your carbon fiber. It is the twill fabric. So it looks like this particular design. There's several different designs that you can choose from. I chose resin epoxy. It's got a 1-to-1 resinor to harder ratio, so it's a little bit easier to use. And I'll show you guys exactly how to use that in the next video. So again, any questions you guys have, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm gonna put the products and the links to these items and where you can get them. And we will start the next video off with doing the resin on this particular lip. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Fahrenheit Motorsports. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time.